Today I want to tell you a story about Allie. Allie's a good student, bright, caring, diligent, and tries to make every correction you give her. She's one of those students that when you look out into the classroom for someone that understands the topic you're speaking about, she's the first one that nods. Maybe you can picture an Allie in your life or a classroom too. She's inspiring to teach. She makes me want to be a better teacher every day. Sometimes, though, she's not able to achieve excellence as easily as the kids around her. There are times I hear her play where I want her to be stronger than she is, and I even grapple with how to grade and evaluate her because my heart is willing her to achieve at a level equal to her effort. You see, in my bands, I have a motto, building light bulb moments one glorious mistake at a time. And it comes from my favorite Thomas Edison quote that reads, "I didn't fail, I just found 10,000 ways that won't work." So students know that failure in my class is embraced and even an expectation. But Edison also wrote that vision without action is hallucination. So with Allie, I asked myself, what could action look like to align my vision for her excellence and the reality of her current proficiency? So when my PLC began to design our proficiency scales for our essential standard called performing music, we debated the idea of balancing the grade with an effort category. I was thinking of the Allies in my other classes and wanted them to have an opportunity to earn a higher grade even if they weren't achieving mastery. But effort, as you can probably guess, is not a standard for music. And after we discussed it more, we all agreed to remove it from our rubrics and scales. We hoped this would prove a good move and provide transparency and expectations to our students from the rubric. And taking away the effort grade forces us to be more transparent with our expectations, outline paths to excellence, and grade students more objectively on what they performed and not how hard they worked to get there. We began shaping our scales for mastery and sharing them with our students and inviting open discussions on how to reach each level. And here's how our levels work. 1.0 is we call basic. It means I can do it if the teacher is right there helping me every step of the way. 2.0 is emerging. If I were given 4 attempts, the fourth would be better than the third, better than the second, which is better than the first. 3.0 is proficient, which means I can do it every time without help. And 4.0 is advanced, and that means total autonomous mastery. Let's take performing a major scale, for example. If a student can play the scale, reading the music with no mistakes, we'd call that proficient, 3.0. If a student could play it from memory perfectly with no mistakes, then that's a 4.0 advanced. In addition to modifying the proficiency scales, I began to create weekly skills that connected directly to our unit assessments. Now I know that seems like common sense, but it's not always how I used to design curriculum for my music class. So as my weekly skills began to get more difficult, so did our unit assessments. Allie began to struggle a little bit more, and she became more frustrated. And there were times she even left class in tears. Usually her tears came from a disconnect between her perceived ability and her actual ability on a skill. But I continued to encourage her that the journey was just as important as the end result. And I remember one submission of a weekly skill that was particularly challenging for her, and she wrote this in her Canvas comments. "I know I'm going to earn a 4 out of 10 on this, but I promise I'll redo it. I've been practicing, but I'm still emerging at this scale in thirds." I was blown away by that. And when I listened to a recording, she wasn't proficient yet, but I was struck by how honest she was with herself. The more she and I talked about her issues, the more questions she asked on how to correct them. We had a very open and honest dialogue about where she was and what it would take to improve. And it wasn't going to be as easy as just try harder. She already was doing that. So she needed a variety of strategies and techniques to try during her individual practice. She became determined to improve her overall tone and playing. She even made improving her tone the topic of her Genius Hour project. She watched videos, read articles, and asked question after question. She set a goal for herself, and I just provided guidance and direction. For her final playing assessment in band, she learned to solo in conjunction with her Genius Hour project, and her final work was well beyond anything I could have chosen for her to play. It was truly inspiring for me as a teacher. Plus, I learned so much about how to motivate and help those struggling learners who have great work ethic. By supporting her struggle and being transparent in the curriculum, she worked hard on her own. I provided feedback and support, but was honest with her in her true proficiency, and that is what propelled her growth. She was intrinsically motivated to improve because for maybe the first time in my 20-year career, I shared exactly what to do to show mastery and exactly how to get there. Allie turned in emerging level work on that weekly skill, not to get a grade, but to get feedback, direction, and support from me, her teacher. If your curriculum is transparent and your scales show the students what they need to do to achieve success, effort is inherent in the learning process.